just starting your day, or did you just get off?
They call, I go, you know.
So what is it you do?
I'm a driver.
Oh, like a chauffeur. Anyone I'd know?
I hope not.
What is your name?
Baby.
Your name's Baby. B-A-B-Y, baby.
Hello, and welcome to Film Rant. In my opinion, Edgar Wright is one of the best British directors in history, so I was very excited when I learned about Baby Driver, a passion project of his that he says is an ode to classic car chases. I love Edgar's style, so seeing him do his version of Drive sounded like a dream come true. It's been some time since we last got an Edgar Wright movie following his departure from Ant-Man, so the hype for Baby Driver was very real for me. So, has he delivered? What I will say is stick around this review until I get to the technical aspects of the movie, because that's where the movie really shines. I'll be handbrake turning my way into spoiler territory though, so take your ride down to the cinema and watch the movie if you don't want anything spoiled. So this is the first original Edgar Wright movie in a while that doesn't feature the combined comedic talents of Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. Instead we get Ansel Elgort as the titular character Baby. He's likeable enough. I mean, he seems relatively shy and quiet, a little like Ryan Gosling in Drive, but a bit less mute and just generally more likeable. He constantly listens to music because he has tinnitus and it helps drown out the noise, which you can hear in the movie whenever there's no music playing. I tell you though, even though this guy barely speaks to anybody and has basically no social interaction skills, he still manages to be smoother than a lubed up dildo when it comes to talking to the ladies. And the lady in question is Deborah, played by Lily James. She was a wonderful, cute and charming character who I kind of wanted to win in a sense. Out of everybody in the movie, I wanted her to find happiness over anyone else. She just seemed like she had a good heart and was just stuck in an everyday job that she didn't want or need. She reminded me a little of Emma Stone's character in La La Land, a kind of dreamer who just wants to get the most she can out of life. That was very endearing. Her relationship with Baby was again similar to the relationship between Carey Mulligan and Ryan Gosling in Drive. She falls in love with this mysterious guy who simply described himself as a driver and is then introduced to a world of shit because of the guy's criminal contacts. Deborah was a bit more explored and relatable than Carey Mulligan's character though, so I enjoyed her character much more. Kevin Spacey plays Doc, who is the brains and leader of the criminal syndicate Baby works for. If you've ever seen the movie 21, Kevin Spacey is pretty much the exact same character as he is in that movie. So much so in fact that I could even argue that he is the same character and that Baby Driver is set in the same universe. Spacey has this brilliant ability to just be subtly threatening. I mean, he can tell you he means business without raising his voice. It's all in his body language and delivery, and that's why he's such a great actor. It also helps that he has resting bitch face, so you think everything he says is passive aggressive. But yeah, the dude is talented. I like Doc's character and his role within the story, but since he was exactly like he was in 21, it wasn't anything I've not seen before. The supporting characters include all of the heist members. Jamie Foxx is the biggest standout. He plays Bats, named for being batshit crazy, and that's basically his entire character. He's selfish, has a problem with Baby from the get-go, and just doesn't seem to have any human emotion. Foxx is definitely the coldest character and you can't really relate to him, but he's damn entertaining within the group. Jon Hamm plays Buddy, who seems quite likeable for the majority of the movie. I mean, as likeable as bank robbers can be. We later find out that he does all this to fund a cocaine habit which he shares with his wife Darling, played by Elza Gonzalez. She acts as the kind of Lady Macbeth to him, I think. He seems like a relatively chill guy, but she asks him to kill people if they look at her funny and seems to push him until he sees red. Once she's killed by the police, an event Jon Hamm blames Baby for, he goes off the rails and hunts Baby in a John Wick-esque fashion, which made it for a decent climax to the story. The last main supporting character was Joseph, played by C.J. Jones. He's a deaf guy who lives with Baby. It's never made clear how these two came to meet, but I found their relationship endearing. Baby seems to look after him and he seems to care equally for Baby. Maybe after Baby's parents died it was Joseph who took him in, so he's Baby's adopted father. Nevertheless, I liked his character and his relationship with Baby. It allowed us to see the neutral, caring side of Baby other than just the romantic side. Flea and Lanny June play two additional bank robbers, but they aren't in the movie long enough to really warrant talking about. I do have something to say about John Bernthal, but it's more to do with the script, so I'll get to that later. As for the script itself, it was okay. I mean, the writing is brilliant in terms of dialogue. In typical Edgar Wright fashion, not a single line of dialogue is wasted. It's always answering questions, asking questions, or giving depth to characters or situations. It's rhythmic as well. There's a scene where Kevin Spacey is telling Jamie Foxx how Baby is one of his best drivers, along to a beat in the background, and the syllables of each sentence lines up with the beat perfectly. It's probably the closest you'll get to seeing Kevin Spacey rap, and I love that Edgar put so much attention to detail in the dialogue he wrote. It's no surprise he took care of minute details though. I mean, there's a million things in Scott Pilgrim you wouldn't notice unless you've watched it a million times like I have. Wright is a director who really owns every single frame of his movies and leaves nothing untouched, which I really respect. However, I think the story of Baby Driver is average at best. I wasn't that thrilled by it. That's not to say I wasn't gripped. It wasn't predictable, which is a good thing, but what did happen didn't make me linger on the edge of my seat eagerly awaiting the next moment. The climax is decent, but it was nothing brilliant. I've compared this movie to Drive far too much already, and I'm going to do it again, so fuck you, but it suffers from the same issue. Both of these movies are dripping with style and good direction, but the stories are just a bit... nah. I think Baby Driver's story is a little better than Drive's, but they both linger in the well of mediocrity for me. That's not to say there isn't some narrative elements worth talking about. Firstly, we never find out why exactly Baby ended up working for a criminal mastermind. We are told that he simply made a mistake when he was younger and ended up owing Spacey a debt, but we're not told his motivations for turning to Spacey in the first place, or what he did to rack up the debt. I'm guessing he took a loan from him for whatever reason and Spacey wanted it paid back. Or maybe Spacey did something for him and he wanted payment in his driving skills. I mean, who knows? Sometimes movies should explain these things and sometimes it's better left unsaid. I can't decide which applies to this movie, but I don't think not knowing hindered the story. If anything, it makes me make up my own reason and apply it to the universe, so I guess that's a cool thing. I just found it interesting that Wright didn't bother to explain it, given most movies these days try to over-explain everything. It was kind of refreshing without damaging the overall experience. Fair play, Edgar. Fair play. Now, my biggest issue with the movie comes with something Baby does about 3/4 of the way through. Spacey seems to have drafted in his driving skills because he owes him a debt, and once that debt is paid, Spacey threatens him when he says he doesn't want to drive anymore. So I get the impression Baby is doing all of this criminal activity under duress, so to me, if he ends up on the run at the end, then I'd be happy to absolve him of his crimes. He seems like a good kid, and is only doing this stuff because he's threatened and in a tight situation. So throughout the movie I was thinking, how's he going to get out of this? He doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would go full hot fuzz at the end and kill them all, but he also doesn't seem clever enough to outsmart Spacey and make a getaway. That's what kept the movie from being predictable. Eventually Jamie Foxx pushes Baby a little too far by killing a security guard as he leaves a bank they've just robbed. He gets in the car and shouts at Baby to drive, and Baby thinks twice about doing this now as he feels bad that his colleagues are killing people and he didn't get on with Foxx anyway. Baby's solution to this is to accelerate into a construction truck in front and essentially decapitate Foxx. Baby has pretty much no reaction to this. I could kind of understand this if Baby had just had enough and decided to crash the car and kill Foxx to be arrested by the police and face the music, but nope, he gets out the car and runs off with Hammond Gonzalez. So we have this nice kid, who was forced to commit these criminal actions under duress, savagely murder someone in cold blood. That made me completely switch off of Baby's character. Honestly, it ruined the whole thing a bit. I'd be perfectly happy to see him go to prison and get released or go on the run at the end if it was just because of his bank robbery crimes, which he was forced to do, but he makes that choice to murder Jamie Foxx. And then I just thought, okay, yeah, you deserve to go to prison, you fucking crazy. Yeah, Foxx was a bad guy, but without self-defense or vigilantism, that doesn't justify Baby murdering him in the narrative. He kills John Hamm at the end of the movie, but that one was in self-defense, so I can let that one slide. Edgar's films are known for having very violent and extreme endings, almost like Tarantino, but this one just completely lost me. I'm also not entirely sure why Kevin Spacey held Baby at the end. Baby asks him for his mother's tape and some help escaping the police and John Hamm. Spacey says no, presumably because Baby just fucked up a bank job, but then Spacey caves once he sees Baby with his girlfriend. This made no sense. Spacey gives his reasoning by saying, oh, I was in love once. But to me that means jack shit when the whole reason Baby was on the job in the fucking first place was because Spacey threatened his girlfriend by saying, the girl, she's cute, let's keep it that way, huh? Spacey is either a cold-hearted bastard that has no empathy for anyone, which I think he is, or he's a softy at heart who can be emotionally manipulated by love. He can't be both. Wright tries to make him both, and to me, it just made no sense. It's like if at the end of Godfather 2, Michael Corleone called off killing his brother because he sees him with his wife. It just doesn't work. I wanted Jon Bernthal's character to come back too. He's part of the crew for the opening heist, and when we get back to the base, he's questioning everybody about Baby's character. Wright uses this scene to tell us about Baby, but it also sets up some kind of comedic feud between Bernthal and Baby. He's sort of a less crazy Jamie Foxx character. The scene made me think, okay, Bernthal is probably going to be an issue in the future, he'll be the villain in the group. Instead, we get Jamie Foxx and Bernthal is never seen again, which is a real shame. I mean, I like Jamie Foxx's character, but I love watching Bernthal, and I feel like he could have added something more to the movie. Why didn't he come back, Edgar? Why? So as for the technical aspects of the movie, I have to say that it's a technical masterpiece. Baby Driver is definitely made in its technical quality. The whole movie is a masterclass in editing. It's the editing equivalent of your girlfriend's back after you've gone hard and fast. It just clicks. From the very first cut to the last, everything is deliberate, well-paced and styled. There's a scene where Wright makes a drum beat with gunshots, which isn't anything new, but it was just so impressively done. He syncs gunshots and cuts to the soundtrack, people move around to the music too. He said himself it's like a musical, and it really is. Where a musical is very in your face with characters moving in rhythm and often overacting, Baby Driver is a little more subtle. It is a little awkward at times when you can tell characters aren't moving naturally and are moving to deliberately fit the rhythm, but it didn't really make it any less impressive. Edgar uses editing to entertain. It's almost a character in itself. He doesn't use it to simply just tell a story. He makes full use of the power of the cut to give his films a sharper edge. See that wordplay there? Did you like it? I thought it was quite good. Bill Pope knocks it out the park again with some incredible cinematography. Pope was also used on Scott Pilgrim, another great looking Edgar Wright movie, and he doesn't let down here. Early on there's a very long one shot that shows Baby leaving the base to go and get coffee. The way the camera moves through the scene is smooth and flawless, and there's some great shots to be seen. One that sticks out is when Baby is walking beside a wall with some street art on it, and Baby mimics the pose the person in the art is making. It's flat, kind of Wes Anderson style, but it's full of colour and well framed. The way Pope shoots the car chases is exhilarating too, which I guess it would have to be given it's a movie dedicated to car chases. Another shot that really stood out to me was a shot in the base where Baby is playing with a toy car. The car is about 4 feet in front of him, but Pope has the camera zoomed in and he closes the depth, so you get this cool image of Baby looming over the toy car. I was as impressed with the cinematography as I was with the editing. It's also clear that Edgar made this movie similarly to how James Gunn makes some scenes in Guardians of the Galaxy. He selected various songs and made scenes around those songs. It's a very deliberate soundtrack. All of the characters move in rhythm to each song, the songs usually fit the situation, and it helps that a lot of them are absolute bangers anyway. One aspect that I loved was that the music wasn't only used to evoke a feeling in the audience that suited the scene, sometimes the lyrics directly depicted the emotions of the character at the time, or even explained what was happening. After Baby completes his final job, he listens to Easy Like a Sunday Morning by Lionel Richie to tell us he's had a load lifted off his shoulders. He's free. He's easy. Edgar makes the soundtrack a very lively character in Baby Driver, and he does so brilliantly. I always love it when movies use classic tracks as their soundtrack. It's even better when they're directly incorporated into the story. In fact, I think the characters are named after songs too. Definitely Baby and Deborah. I mean, they even have a conversation about that in the diner. There was a scene where I would have liked music where there was none, however, and that was when Jamie Foxx was telling John how he knows everything about him in the diner. He was being very passive-aggressive in his approach, to which Elsa Gonzalez responds by saying Ham is a sweetheart, but sometimes he just sees red, and when that happens, you'll only see black. It was a very tense scene, and I think that Wright could have thrown in some kind of guitar riff or drum beat in there to help amp up the scene. Wright's soundtrack has tension in a different way to how Drive does it. Wright uses jittery tunes that evoke a feeling of anxiety. Baby sits and twitches and taps his fingers to quick drum beats, which works fine. This is kind of the opposite of how Drive handles tension, by having the same note play in a constant rhythm while Ryan Gosling sits patiently. Both of these create tension, and I think Edgar Wright did a great job creating the same level of tension but in a different style. Again, he stuck his own style on something and made it his own. I also like that Wright didn't use super or hyper cars in the movie. He used affordable, relatively common cars that weren't too flash. I think this brought the whole thing down to earth. Wright made the car chases more Italian job than Fast and Furious, and I think that's Wright's style down to a T. He seems to love putting his own spin on classic ideas, and he brought his authorship with the editing while still keeping everything else relatively basic. Before the movie came on, there was a little clip of Wright introducing the movie, which I thought was a nice touch. In that clip, he mentions that there was no CG in the movie, not even a single green screen. Everything you see was performed exactly how you see it. This leads me to say that the stunt work in Baby Driver is fantastic. The driving stunts, as well as some of the more violent scenes, are all very impressive. There's a great scene in the trailer where Baby spins his car between two trucks. That looked amazing. Well done to the stunt guys in this film. They really earned their paycheck. So overall, Baby Driver is a movie that boasts some interesting and fun characters but doesn't really have a story to match them. I never found Baby Driver's story to be boring, but it was about as underwhelming as a Roman Reigns pinfall. It wasn't predictable, but I wasn't all that exhilarated by it either. There's some questionable narrative elements throughout, but I'd be wrong if I said Edgar Wright can't write a good movie. The dialogue in Baby Driver is phenomenal and Edgar never misses a beat. The editing is probably the best he's ever done without the aid of visual effects. I think Scott Pilgrim is smoother than Baby Driver, but Baby Driver has some more impressive scenes like the gun drumbeat shootout. The level of care paid to every detail in Baby Driver is evident, and that's unsurprising when it's Edgar Wright, but it still never fails to impress me. Even if I don't particularly like the story of an Edgar Wright movie, I can always respect the amount of love and care he puts into them. Baby Driver is worth seeing for the phenomenal editing, cinematography, soundtrack and stunt work. The story falls by the wayside, and it's surprising I can like a movie with a lacking story, but the rest is just that good I have to recommend it. If you aren't blown away by its impressive production quality, then you simply aren't human. You probably like Turkish delights as well, and your dad probably sells Avon. Ugh. Baby Driver gets 4 frames out of 5. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Film Rant.